Surging Sparks is too expensive. Surging Sparks is overhyped. Why is the Pikachu $500? This whole set is trash. It's all hype and FOMO. How many times have we heard these things being said about Surging Sparks? And there's even people comparing Surging Sparks to Vivid Voltage, but I'm not even going to get into that. I made a whole separate video just trolling about that whole thing where people saying that Surging Sparks was the next Vivid Voltage. I don't even want to talk about it. But a lot of people don't seem to understand why Surging Sparks is the way it is. They just look at the set and be like, oh, this is trash. But today I wanted to compare every single Scarlet and Violet main set to Surging Sparks and see why Surging Sparks is the way it is. Because when you do it this way, when you look at every single main set from the Scarlet and Violet era and you look at Surging Sparks, it becomes very obvious why the set is the way it is and why this set is, has outperformed every other main set. It's very obvious, but some people, I think, just don't seem to, understand why Surging Sparks is the way it is. So I wanted to make this video to hopefully, for you guys out there that still don't see why Surging Sparks is this expensive, look at every other main set and you'll see why. So I want to make this very clear, I guess, before I go on with this video. I've said this before, but I think I need to make it very clear. So whenever I say a set is good, or whenever I say the artworks are good, a lot of people say that, well, that's just your own opinion. Everyone has their own opinion, so what you say doesn't make any sense because you're telling us that this set is good, but you're using your own opinion. So how can you say what I say is good is wrong? I don't know if that made any sense, but hopefully you guys understand what I was trying to say. Here's the thing. Whenever I say a set is good or the artworks are good, or if a set is bad, the artworks are bad, I'm speaking from the general consensus of people in Pokemon. And when I say that stuff, I'm talking about from the perspective of the market. When I say a set is good, for example, like Evolving Skies, I'm speaking from the market perspective. There could be people who think Evolving Skies is trash and overrated. People may think that the booster box, the cards are too expensive. Obviously, that's your own opinion, but I'm talking from the perspective of the general market. So when I say something is good or something is bad, that is being reflected by the market and the prices of the cards or the booster boxes. And I want to make that very clear because I think a lot of people struggle to kind of separate collecting and investing, which is why they get upset when I say a set is good or bad. And that's where a lot of people, I think, maybe are coming onto my channel not understanding this is an investing channel. And I'm not talking about collecting because collect what you like. I'm not saying you can't collect what you like, but in terms of investing, I feel like a lot of people, the problem they have is they get their biases in the way of making decisions, and that's why they miss out on some sets because they're like, oh, this set is trash, I don't want to buy into it. But the general market sees that as being good, and then you missed out. So like I said, you need to differentiate collecting and investing. And when I talk about a set being good, I'm speaking from the general market. So I just wanted to make those quick, I guess, kind of disclaimers before talking about this stuff, because every time I say a set is good or say whatever, people always go in the comments section below saying, how can you say this set is good or whatnot? I'm speaking from the market perspective. So hopefully you guys can understand what I mean by that. Maybe some of you guys are going to have a hard time understanding, but hopefully you guys out there do understand what I was trying to say. So yeah, I wanted to make this video to just look at every main set and compare to Surging Sparks because it's so obvious why this is the first main set we've seen from the Scarlet and Violet era that has had this much hype and this much popularity, and we can see that being reflected with the prices of the cards and the booster box. So I'm going to go over some sets kind of quickly, but Scarlet and Violet base, this booster box, they got reprinted. It's a base set. I'm pretty sure the pull rates for the set were very easy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were able to pull the Miriam, which was the top card originally, but now the Gardevoir there's just not a huge chase in this set. But honestly, I feel like Scarlet and Violet base is one of the best or the best base sets that has ever come out in Pokemon history, just because it has SIRs and IRs, and honestly I feel like the artworks in the set are actually very good, but because the pull rates I'm pretty sure are pretty easy in the set, and because it's a base set, it's just not that popular, and you can see that reflected with the prices of these boxes. They're now going for around like $100, $110, like in that range. You could get them just not too long ago for like $90, but this set is almost 2 years old now, and it's only just $100, $110. So when you do like the math on that, this set is almost 2 years old. It's only gone up, what, maybe $20, $10, $20. It hasn't done that well because it just got printed, like the booster boxes got reprinted. I mean, there's nothing really expensive in the set. So just overall, this set is not the best thing ever, but it's definitely a good base set. Now let's look at Paldea Evolved. So Paldea Evolved is probably like one of the, I would say, better sets from the Scarlet Violet era, and I think everyone can sort of agree with that. And we can see, why this set is, one of the better ones is because it has a magic card that's over $100. And honestly, in the Scarlet Violet era, any card that's over $100 is pretty expensive, because when you look at Sword and Shield, there are so many alt arts that were above $100. But Paldea Evolved is a little bit different because there's actually illustration rares that perform way better than SIRs, and we can see that with Paldea Evolved. It's a little bit strange. We really didn't see that with Sword and Shield. Like, alt arts were always the most expensive card, but in this case, in Scarlet Violet, it's like completely different. But definitely, Paldea Evolved is one of the better sets, and you can see that with the prices. And if you look at the artworks, you can see it has good artworks. It has popular Pokemon, Tyranitar, Raichu, has Diano, Magikarp. We can see why this set, there's expensive cards, and we can see that being reflected in the box prices as well. We can see a very strong correlation that, how expensive the cards are in the set and the artworks and the Pokemon. We can correlate that with how the box performs, and we can see Paldea Evolved has performed better than the base set, obviously because, it just has better cards. So Paldea Evolved booster boxes right now are $140, and, that's pretty good. So next is Obsidian Flames. Now, Obsidian Flames is sort of a weird set because there's no really expensive cards in this set, and there's really no huge just chase card. Like, if you look at the top cards, they're just Charizard EXs, and you look at the artworks and compare it to other sets from the Scarlet Violet era, like, the artworks are kind of lackluster in the set. Like, there's nothing that crazy. There's no super expensive card. There's nothing extremely good about this set. But when you look at the booster boxes, you can see that they're like $125. This is one of them that is like an anomaly, in my opinion, because there's nothing crazy about the set. The only thing it has going for it is the Charizard. And in my opinion, I feel like this is one of those boxes that performs good in the short term, but then long term, it's going to plateau. I feel like, honestly, Obsidian Flames is pretty comparable to, like, Darkness Ablaze, more so than Surging Sparks to Vivid Voltage. I know people are probably going to flame me for that comparison. Yes, Obsidian Flames is better than Darkness Ablaze, but I just feel like in terms of level of, like, just artworks and cards, comparing to the rest of the era, Obsidian Flames is kind of lackluster. So I really think this is not going to do better than some other sets, long term, because it just doesn't have that much going for it. It just has the Charizard. Some people like chasing it, but a few years from now, when the set is out of print and people don't really care anymore, like, I just feel like this is not going to do that well. But hey, this is my opinion. I just feel like Obsidian Flames is just a weird anomaly. But in general, I don't think there's that many good artworks in the set. And then next we have Paradox Rift. Now, this is one of the sets a lot of people talk about being underrated, and I've sort of talked about this too. But there's a reason why this set and booster box isn't that expensive. If you see the Groudon, it's the top card, and it's just a normal IR, just like the Magikarp. But this card is not like $157 like the Magikarp was. It's only $65. And when you look at the rest of the set, you can kind of see why this set isn't that expensive. It just has the Groudon, and then other than that, look at the cards in the set. There's the Roaring Moon, which is an SIR that's actually cheaper than the Groudon. There's Altaria, but after you go past like these two cards, no one talks about really any of these cards, and none of these are really extremely expensive. So you can sort of see why this set isn't that expensive, because there's just maybe one card that people really are chasing for the Groudon. That's kind of it. Like, there's really nothing in the set that people really want. There's nothing crazy in the set, which is why you can see the booster boxes. This set is like a year old now. It's only $106. So now I want to talk about Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces is one of, I would say, also the better sets from the Scarlet Violet era, sort of like Paldea Evolved. Some people don't really like it because they're like alternate forms of actual like the original Pokemon. Like, I'm pretty sure these are like the Raikou, this is the Suicune, this is the Entei. So some people don't really like the whole thing, but I would say artwork wise, like, this is one of the better Scarlet Violet main sets. And you can see that reflected in the prices. Like, people seem to actually like this, set. There's decently expensive cards, more so than Paradox Rift, and this card's almost $100. So just generally, this set does have pretty good artwork, as you can see here, like just generally speaking. And when we look at the booster box prices, we can see that sort of reflects. These booster boxes are now $120. I would actually agree, or kind of say that these prices are actually somewhat maybe a good pickup right now. Obviously, we haven't seen reprints or anything, but at $120, like this is cheaper than Obsidian Flames, and I would argue that this set is better than Obsidian Flames. But yeah, Temporal Forces definitely I would say is a pretty good set from the Scarlet Violet era, and we can see that it's performing decently well. And this set I think is maybe just about to hit a year old now, so yeah. Then we have Twilight Masquerade. This is like the first set from Scarlet and Violet that we kind of saw with, sort of like Surging Sparks a little bit, where there was finally a card that was super expensive. The Greninja is $300. This is like the first card we ever see really reach this sort of like price. And this is where people started to change their mind about Scarlet and Violet when they saw Greninja was this expensive. And also you take into account the other cards, the trainer cards, and then also the Eevee. This is definitely the set that changed a lot of people's minds about Scarlet and Violet. And we can see that, there being this expensive of a card, it reflects in the booster box price. We can see now Twilight Masquerade booster boxes are $160. Recently, it really hasn't done much. I think a lot of the attention has moved on to Surging Sparks, but you can see there being the Greninja that's $300, it has actually caused the booster boxes to go all the way to $160. And we have not seen this with any other Scarlet and Violet set prior to this one. So then now we talk about Stellar Crown, which I feel like everyone forgot about. Stellar Crown, honestly, in my opinion, if you compare it to some of the earlier like Scarlet and Violet sets, I would actually argue that Stellar Crown is better than some. Like, maybe hot take, I feel like Stellar Crown, just in my opinion, is better than sets like Obsidian Flames and maybe Paradox Rift. And the only reason why I'm going to stay with Paradox Rift is because Paradox Rift does have the Groudon, but this set has Squirtle and Bulbasaur. So I don't know if that's a hot take, but honestly, I feel like Stellar Crown is sort of underrated right now. You can still get them for like $103. So I feel like Stellar Crown is one of them that is going to maybe like go under the radar a little bit. It has the Squirtle and Bulbasaur. I mean, look at Paradox Rift. It has the Groudon, and people talk about Paradox Rift all the time. I feel like the same thing's going to maybe happen with this set. But yeah, Stellar Crown, I think just the Terapagos is the top card. Just Terapagos, I don't think is that popular. So yeah, these booster boxes, you can see the market price is $115. But you can get these on eBay. I've checked for like $103. So honestly, I feel like this is a good pickup. But that's kind of besides the point of this video. But now, remember all the sets I just showed you, right? I just kind of rambled about each of them and just showed you guys the top cards. Now look at Surging Sparks. And like I said, you're going to have to objectively just look at these cards because people are still going to say, yeah, I still don't agree, all these cards are trash. But look at what Surging Sparks has going for it. It has multiple SARs being this expensive. Look how expensive these are. We have not seen this with any other main set from the Scarlet and Violet era. And we have Pikachu being the top card, and Pikachu obviously is one of the most popular Pokemon out there and one of the most just known Pokemon. Obviously, you can say the artworks, whatever, is lackluster. That's, a very common thing people say. But there's a reason why it's this expensive. It's because this is the first set we've seen from the Scarlet and Violet era that has multiple chase cards. Like, if you even want to say the Pikachu is trash, okay, take this out of the count. But look at the Latias. This gold card, some people are going to argue whatever. But there's Milotic, Hydreigon, the Lycia, the Executor even. Like, there's multiple chase cards. Like with Twilight Masquerade, which is the only really main set we've seen that has outperformed anything else from the Scarlet and Violet era, having the Greninja that's $300, and people even said that artwork and everything was overhyped. This, like, no set has done this where there's been multiple chases like this where, also we have just multiple cards that are above $100. And obviously, Pikachu is like almost like, it's like $500 now. Like, I don't understand how people don't understand why the booster box is this expensive. We have 2 cards above $200, and the booster box is now just $200. Like, it still makes sense. And just, I don't think people understand how, like, prices do actually affect, the prices, like, the prices of the cards affect the prices of booster boxes, at least in the short term. Like, there's a lot of expensive cards in the set that we don't see with any other Scarlet Violet made set. So for people to say that $200 is too expensive, yeah, the set is new, but when you look at the, the prices of the cards, like this, it wouldn't make sense if this booster box was only $100. And it kind of goes back to the whole point where I was trying to say where people's biases get in the way of making like decisions with investing. It's like, you can say all you want that this set is overhyped and that this set is trash and you don't understand it. But the market is going to do what it does based on the majority of people. People are buying this set. People were hyped up about this set for a reason. Because it had a Pikachu, which obviously is controversial whether it's a good artwork or not. It has the Milotic. It has, you know, the other trainer cards that, you know, you guys know why they're popular. Like, it has multiple chases. The Latias, like, we haven't seen this with any other Scarlet Violet main set. So I feel like there's really no argument that you can make of why is this the one set that has, you know, gone this crazy in Scarlet Violet. You know, you can argue, oh, other sets in Scarlet Violet were so much better, but they're cheaper. This makes no sense. But it's the market. The market is going to do what it does. If you don't agree, then it's fine. But just know that, you know, it's the majority of people that, you know, is why these prices go up. It's not just you saying that, oh, this is trash and then it should go down. Like, the majority of people like the set. That's why it's this expensive. Because you can argue with literally any other previous set how it's so good, but you'll see that the booster boxes maybe really like Stellar Crown. Why are the booster boxes, why wasn't the hype like it is for Surging Sparks? Because generally, people didn't really like the set. People didn't like the set as much as they do with Surging Sparks. It's a very simple concept where it's just demand, like supply and demand. But I feel like some people have a hard time understanding that because they just have their own opinions, which is fine. And you never have to, you know, buy into anything you don't like. Like I said, some people get confused with the whole collecting investing thing. Just, you know, you can buy what you like, but that's obviously, you know, a little bit different than investing. But I don't even want to get into that anymore. But just know that it's all supply and demand. This is not, you know, I've seen so many people like say just manipulation and this is all going to crash. Like, it just makes no sense because you could say that with any other set before. Like, why did it just happen with Surging Sparks? Why didn't it happen with, you know, Stellar Crown? Why didn't it happen with any other previous set? It's because the hype wasn't there, because people didn't really care as much about the artworks. So it's a crazy thing. It's a simple concept of why booster boxes and specific sets do go crazy. But hey, I mean, I'm just here rambling, but I wanted to give you guys my opinion and show you guys why Surging Sparks is the way it is. It's just so obvious. There's so many expensive cards in the set. The artworks, there's like the best artworks in the set. It's so obvious, but some people have a hard time seeing it. But yeah, let's end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.